My dear brothers and sisters, let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and still felt completely alone, like you're speaking a language no one around you understands? Maybe you've always felt out of place, misunderstood, or even labeled as different. This feeling isn't random. It's as if your path was designed to be unlike the rest, carved out specifically for you. Perhaps the challenges you faced weren't obstacles. They were signs. Subtle reminders from Allah that you are being shaped for something greater. But here's the thing. These signs aren't always loud or obvious. They come as whispers in your heart, moments in your life that others might overlook but feel deeply significant to you. In this video, we're going to uncover 7 powerful signs that set certain individuals apart, not to create arrogance, but to help us reflect on how Allah prepares every soul for its unique journey. And the beauty of these signs, they're not limited to a chosen few. They're lessons we all can take to better understand ourselves and our connection to Allah. So watch until the very end, because by the time we're done, you might just see your life in a way you've never seen before. Number 1, a sense of being out of place. Have you ever found yourself sitting with friends or family, and while everyone else seems completely absorbed in the moment, you're lost in your own thoughts? Maybe you've questioned why certain behaviors, gossip, materialism, or endless comparisons felt so uncomfortable to you, even if others seemed perfectly fine with them. Perhaps as a child, you struggled to fit into groups where shallow things were celebrated, like chasing popularity or wealth. You weren't uninterested because you lacked understanding. It was because your heart yearned for something deeper. This isn't a coincidence. Many people who feel this way are being shaped by Allah for a unique purpose. Look at the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Even before receiving revelation, he withdrew from the chaos of Meccan society to seek solitude in the cave of Hira. He wasn't running from the world. He was being prepared to transform it. And perhaps, my brothers and sisters, the moments you felt out of place weren't signs of rejection. They were Allah's way of keeping your heart safe from distractions and pulling you toward something greater. But this sense of being different isn't always easy to carry, especially when it begins to affect how others treat you. That's what we'll explore next. Number 2, the weight of being misunderstood. Have you ever tried to explain your thoughts or feelings to someone, only to be met with blank stares or even criticism? Maybe your ideas were seen as too deep, your values too strict, or your dreams too unrealistic. It's not easy, my dear brothers and sisters. Sometimes, the very people we care about the most, friends, family, even close companions, fail to understand the depth of what's in our hearts. It feels isolating, doesn't it? Like you're carrying a weight no one else can see. This is something many of us experience, especially when our priorities don't align with the world around us. Perhaps you've chosen to step away from a toxic environment, rejected the lure of materialism, or prioritized your deen over fleeting pleasures. And while others may mock or question your choices, Allah is watching. Every time you choose His path over theirs, He strengthens you. Think about the story of the Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him. For 950 years he preached to his people, warning them, guiding them, yet only a handful believed. Even his own son turned away. Imagine the pain he must have felt. Yet he remained steadfast, knowing his mission wasn't about pleasing others, but obeying Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, maybe you've faced similar moments in your life. Times when people questioned your choices, misunderstood your intentions, or labeled you as too different. These aren't moments of weakness. They're signs that you're walking a path not meant for everyone. But what happens when this misunderstanding leads to a breaking point? When relationships strain and you're forced to make difficult choices? That's where the next sign comes into play. Number 3, a call to walk alone. There are moments in life when the people you once leaned on begin to drift away. It's not because you've done something wrong, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. The closer you draw to Allah, the more distant the world around you might feel. Think about it. How often have relationships changed when you started taking your faith seriously? Maybe you stopped participating in gossip, refused to indulge in certain behaviors, or prioritized your salah over social gatherings. Slowly, the invitations stopped coming, the calls grew fewer, and the people who once surrounded you began to fade into the background. It's painful, isn't it? To realize that some relationships were built on shallow foundations rather than mutual understanding and respect. But my dear brothers and sisters, this isn't a loss. It's a purification. Allah removes those who don't uplift your soul, so your heart has space for those who will. The Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, faced a similar test when his people rejected his message and even threatened him with fire. He stood alone, unwavering in his faith. And what did Allah do? He turned the fire into a place of safety and peace for Ibrahim. Perhaps your own solitude is a fire that Allah is cooling for you, preparing your heart for something greater. But this loneliness isn't without purpose. It's a sign of strength. The question is, how do you find peace in it? Let's explore that next. Number 4, a heart that finds peace in solitude. Have you ever noticed how the world seems to demand constant noise and distraction? Social media, endless notifications, and the pressure to always stay connected? But despite all that, have you ever felt an unusual calm when you step away from it all? It's like your soul is craving something the world cannot provide. This isn't a sign of weakness or isolation. It's a sign of clarity. A heart that finds peace in solitude is often one that Allah is drawing closer to him. In today's world, where people chase validation through likes, comments, and followers, the ability to feel complete without it is a blessing few realize they have. Perhaps you found yourself pulling back from things that once seemed important, like constant socializing or chasing worldly success. It's not because you're running away. It's because you're being reminded that true contentment comes from Allah alone. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to seek solitude in the cave of Hira before receiving revelation. It wasn't an escape. It was preparation, a way for his heart to align fully with Allah's plan. And maybe, my brothers and sisters, your moments of solitude are preparing you for something too. But solitude isn't always easy. It can feel heavy, even unsettling, especially when the world doesn't understand it. That's where the next lesson unfolds. Number 5, the burden of strained relationships. Let's be honest, relationships today can feel like walking on eggshells. You try to maintain peace, but misunderstandings creep in. Sometimes, no matter how much effort you put in, you're met with coldness, judgment, or even betrayal. And it leaves you wondering, why does it feel so hard to connect with others? My dear brothers and sisters, this isn't just a test of your patience, it's also a sign. When Allah is molding you for a higher purpose, He often removes relationships that no longer serve your spiritual growth. Perhaps you've faced moments when you had to let go of toxic friendships or distance yourself from family members who didn't respect your boundaries. It's painful, but it's necessary. Think about it. How many times have you compromised your values to please others? How many times have you felt drained by someone who takes more than they give? These aren't just frustrations, they're signs from Allah to realign your priorities. To remember that no relationship should come before your relationship with Him. But here's the truth. Strained relationships don't mean you're failing, they mean you're growing. Allah is teaching you to rely on Him more, to seek comfort in His companionship when others fall short. And in the moments when it feels unbearable, when you're tempted to give up on people altogether, there's still a lesson waiting for you. Let's uncover it next. Number 6, a resilience that grows in silence. Have you ever felt like the battles you fight are yours alone? That while the world moves on around you, you quietly endure struggles no one else can see? It's not because you're weak, it's because Allah is teaching you a strength that doesn't depend on recognition. In today's world, everyone wants their struggles acknowledged, their efforts praised, and their sacrifices noticed. But when Allah chooses to keep your battles private, He's also keeping your reward with Him. Think about it. Every silent tear, every unspoken frustration, every moment you chose to endure instead of retaliating. It's all seen by Him. This is the kind of resilience that builds faith. It's not loud or attention-seeking, it's quiet and unwavering. It's what allows you to keep going when the world gives you every reason to stop. And, my dear brothers and sisters, this kind of strength doesn't just come from within. It comes from trusting Allah's plan, even when it feels invisible. But what does this resilience lead to? What's the purpose of enduring all this in silence? That's where everything we've discussed today ties together in the final sign. Number 7, a heart that clings to hope. No matter how heavy the trials, how lonely the path, or how misunderstood you feel, there has always been a quiet voice in your heart that says, keep going. This is not the end. That voice, my dear brothers and sisters, is your connection to Allah. It's the lifeline that refuses to let despair take over. Have you noticed how, even in your darkest moments, there's always something, perhaps a dua, a verse from the Quran, or even just a moment of clarity that pulls you back? That's not an accident. Allah promises in the Quran, "So verily with hardship, there is relief." This hope isn't just optimism, it's a divine gift. It's what makes you stronger after every setback and more grateful after every blessing. While the world might tell you to give up, Allah reminds you that every trial has a purpose, and every hardship an end. Maybe you've felt this in your own life, when relationships failed, when opportunities slipped through your fingers, or when the weight of expectations felt unbearable. There was still a spark of hope that kept you moving forward. That hope, brothers and sisters, is your proof that Allah is always near. Drawing it all together. And now, as we reflect on all the signs we've discussed today, a profound truth emerges. Allah doesn't place tests or unique paths in your life without reason. Every moment of hardship, every feeling of being different, and every quiet triumph is a part of His greater plan for you. These signs aren't just reminders of struggle. They're proof of Allah's love, care, and intention to elevate you. A final thought, by the way, if today's discussion resonated with you, there's something else you might want to explore. Imagine looking back on your childhood and realizing that even the most difficult experiences were part of Allah's way of shaping you for something greater. There's a video on the screen now that beautifully dives into this topic. Don't miss it. It could reveal connections in your life you've never noticed before. Let's make this moment a personal reminder. Leave a comment below with the words, "Ya Allah, guide me to see the wisdom in your plan," or share any words that resonate with you. It's a small action, but one that can inspire both yourself and others to hold on to faith through life's trials. Jazakallahu khair for watching, and may Allah bless you with peace, patience, and strength. Continue walking your unique path.